Hi and welcome to Total Recall. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
You can check out my Patreon at patreon.com. Just search Tom Scioli. You can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli, or you can follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
Today we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, specifically the 1990 live action motion picture.
What a life changer for me.
Yeah.
A big cornerstone in my movie-going life. I started out watching the show, the cartoon, saw this one in the theater, and then I got on a VHS, and I think if I could somehow track what I've watched on VHS, it's probably one of my most watched VHSs of all time.
Do you still have the tape?
I do. I need to
because I'd like to see how worn out it is.
It's burnt out, and it's the FHE, the Family Home Entertainment.
Yeah, where it's written in crayon.
It's written in crayon, and then I always thought it was weird. It's like fee or something.
Yeah.
It looked bad, even as a third grade.
Yeah, it's like, is this baby stuff? I mean,
clearly we got the Domino's product placement in the movie. Big
a lot
time.
of product placement. Yeah, I saw a couple other things.
In there. We love a good product placement. I saw some BK in there, some Burger King action.
Yeah, I think there were some boxes that were I forget, it was Dr. Pepper or something up. They were crates.
Oh my God,
we're going deep.
We're going deep. They had pallets of Pepsi.
That's what it was. Yeah.
The Foot Clan definitely. Dave and Buster stole their business plan from the Foot Clan.
Yeah, when you see that hideout for the Foot Clan, as a kid seeing this movie, it was aspirational. That's where I want to go, because it was it's got skateboard ramps and arcade games.
Playing Narc in there.
Yeah, every arcade game, probably on free play. All the arcade games. Pinocchio's Island. What was it? Pleasure Island. In Pinocchio.
Had Domino's as a product placement, but on that VHS tape, there was a Pizza Hut. I think Pizza Hut also tied in some product stuff. They had this commercial. It was Peter, Paul, and Mary's Right Field. It was I play right field. It's important to know.
A public service thing?
It was a kid playing Little League who stunk in right field. It's where I played too in Little League. It's where the ball never gets hit. But when I played Little League, the snack shack was in right field, and I would sneak out of I would to creep off the field because the snack shack was right there. But it was a Pizza Hut commercial where the kid stunk it up and then caught the ball, and they're like, "You're a hero." But it was they had right field. It's important to know. You gotta know how to catch.
I feel probably when they were lining up the product placement, they probably went to Pizza Hut before they went to Domino's, and Pizza Hut was no thanks or whatever, and then realized their mistake, and then got on board in time for the VHS release.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because probably from Jump Street, people were turning it down.
Domino's placement, it's really good product placement because it figures into the plot, where he's because it's explaining to you, which maybe wasn't as well known at the time, but they're explaining to you their 15 minutes or less polish, or whatever it was, 30 minutes or less.
I
know. And you get it free or you get whatever 10% off if it doesn't come
within 30 minutes.
Yeah, within 30 minutes. So they're explaining that really well within the movie as part of the plot.
I learned so much from this movie when I was little. I learned about menthol cigarettes, pork rinds, the pizza time limit on delivery, penicillin. When they mentioned that, I'm like, what's penicillin?
This movie, it's so perfect, and it was and I was a kid when this came out, and perfect age. I was probably around the age of the kids that were at that thing. So I was probably 12 or 13 when those kids are skateboard, and
oh my God,
I could totally see myself in this movie.
You're I'm join the Foot Clan. I'm they got some good ideas. It is funny though that Shredder's my empire, but really the Foot Clan, we love the Foot Clan here, but a lot of sizzle and no steak. They're a podunk operation that the mob might turn their nose up at.
They give you enough, they give you just enough. It's there's a hierarchy. They never established, because it was kind of this is the era of when like Bart Simpson was like the main character on The Simpsons. It wasn't Homer yet. It was Bart Simpson, and like everybody was consumed with these like 80s and 90s juvenile delinquents. These kids who are like, don't have a cow, man, and get bent. Like
eat my shorts.
Eat my shorts. Yeah, like wise ass kids. Wise ass kids with like day glow colored outfits.
Dude, I had my Bartman T-shirt that like I wore till it like shredded off my body. Do you remember those like humongous pins? They were like a foot long.
Yeah, it would be like a plate.
Like a plate. I had like a dish, like a dinner serving, like a waiter's tray on my book bag. They're like looking out of the sewer grate.
The tone of this is so perfect because it's like, I mean, just like you, it's like I saw the cartoon, and it was like the cartoon was fun. I was into it, but it was like it felt like a little bit light to like I loved it and watched every episode, but it was like a little cheesy, a little like kid centered, and then I discovered like the comic, the black and white comic.
I've never read the comic.
Okay, it's a must read. It's like one of the great comics of all time.
I'm gonna rectify that.
And for, like,
but I've seen it. I remember when I was a kid and saw like the pages. It was shocking to see like the black and white. Really, like I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
it's something else. Like
it's just an explosive comic, and like even to this day, it looks like nothing you've ever seen before. And it had been like imitated to death. There was like radioactive black belt hamsters, all kinds of stuff, but none of these imitators captured the look. It just has this like really unique look with like it's got just like a ton, like the drawing just has a ton of effort, and they get like as much like mileage as you can get out of the black and white format. They're using like multiple craft tint paper textures and things. Like it's really like beautiful and effective. Like the story's really good. It's fun. It's unique. It has a great flow. Like it's one of those things that became like a global sensation and was like deservedly so.
I can't wait to read this. I'm so excited. And like even when I was little though, like the name Eastman and Laird was like burned into my head.
Yeah,
so
it's like front and
Harvest.
center. Yeah, it's front and center. Like that is really great. That like the creators are so associated with it, and like on the cartoon, like how often do you, especially in that era, would you see a cartoon where it's like Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
They did a great job because even as a little like kid that shouldn't really know that, I was like a fourth grader, like Eastman and Laird. Like.
Yeah. So like you had like this like sort of made for kids entry point, and then you had this like harder edged original version that you can kind of like when you get a little older or when your tastes mature a little bit, you can be like it kind of like, oh, this is the real stuff, this is the source material. And then you have this movie that comes maybe like like 2 years maybe after the cartoon, 2 or 3 years after the cartoon launches, and it kind of like ages a little bit too. It's got kind of like 1 foot in the cartoon and then like 1 foot into like the edgy realism kind of thing.
Because it's got the colorful bandanas,
right? Yeah,
but it also is like it's like proto Batman because I think I love when Raph goes and watches Critters, but I think it was supposed to be him seeing Batman.
Okay,
and he's supposed to be like cool car dumb costume or something like that.
Yeah, again, like that was Batman's loss for not getting on board. DC Comics' loss for not getting on board. Yeah, it like it's, to me, it's like one of the best comics adaptations to film. Like and for a long time there was not a whole lot of competition either. But I think it like really even holds up into this era of like countless like Marvel movies and the Dark Knight movies and stuff.
You're right. Like you're so right. New York looks gritty and grimy in this. I'm like, this is like, you're right. It's like bridging that gap. It's like from the cartoon, but it's still got that like Death Wish sleazy kind of like.
This was like your last chance to get gritty, grimy New York, because it was only a couple years later that it kind of underwent its like complete transformation.
You're right,
like the New York we know today.
I'm like, hey, why is Raph fighting that foot soldier in front of the M&M store?
We talk about practical effects and stuff. Like it's got that beautiful 80s lighting with like the rim lighting and stuff like that. And then these flashbacks, like one of the best things in this, and that like stood out
Seared
with
in
me
my
as a
brain.
kid, were these flashback scenes where looking at it now, it looks like they're filmed on Super 8.
I know, you're right, the film stock changes.
Yeah, and it just kind of really gets you into a, long ago and far away space. And then they're like sort of filmed against black, and just incredibly effective. And they kind of pop up, because my recollection was that, like Splinter tells his story and then you get his whole story.
Yeah.
But they do it a couple times in the movie. You get like a little bit of information at the beginning, and then when it really matters to like sort of like explain who Shredder is and stuff, then he tells like the kid who's one of the
Danny.
Yeah, who's like a junior member of the Foot Clan, but who is about to like turn and join up with the Turtles. Like he tells him his story.
You're right. Like those scenes are scenes. When I think of Turtles, those are some of the first ones that come back to my when Splinter's master is killed. Like that always stuck with me. I'm like, it was impactful.
And that's like straight out of the comic. Like I'm glad they went with the comic origin over the cartoon origin. The cartoon origin was that the way the mutagen works is that whoever whatever species you're near most recently, you kind of mutate into that. So the Turtles were near a human being. It was like Splinter was like a man. Like Splinter wasn't the rat of the master
who turned he was a man that turned into the rat.
Yeah, he was a man, and since the last creature he had been near was a rat, he mutated into a man rat, and then the Turtles, the last creature they were near was him, so they turned into like man turtles. That origin story from the cartoon is quick and easy to digest, and so like that's what they used in the cartoon, but in the comic, you have the origin story is that he's just a rat, and he's sitting in a cage in Japan at the dojo of his sort of owner, and Splinter was just this rat, and I guess a really smart rat or whatever, but he's like imitating his when he's doing his practice and stuff, he just imitates and learns from him and refers to him as his master. Like I'm sure Hamato Yoshi is not aware that he is training his pet rat to be, or maybe he finds it like amusing that his rat is like imitating his moves, but like Splinter's like really seriously imitating his moves. When he ends up in New York and stuff, he gets hit with the mutagen and it turns him into this like large, smart rat, and it turns the turtles into like large, smart turtles. I like the story has a lot more charm to me. And a little bit of like whimsy, but still some believability.
Oh, I know. Like somehow I'm like, this all checks out.
Like I think we find these characters like way more like sort of lovable. The fact that they're like animals as opposed to if they were like human beings that got transformed. So like
you're right. The animals too, like growing. Yeah, you're like, this kid was a jerk before he became a turtle or whatever.
Yeah, like because the turtles like. Again, like watching this as an adult, I mean, even as a kid watching this movie, like the Turtles jokes are like annoying, and I think part of that's intentional too, like the "Cowabunga, dude," and
God, I love being a turtle.
Yeah, that's like the trailer moment. That's like the moment for the trailer where he's like, "I love being a turtle." Like all that stuff is like so obnoxious. But then if you remember, like, okay, there teenagers. So they're like, even though they're really good in martial arts, they are still teenagers, so they're immature. But then they're also like they were turtles not too long ago that grew. So like they're good. Like this is pretty good approximation of human behavior. And then also they're like kind of raised by television. They didn't get to like kind of go out in the world and go to school and meet other kids. So they're just like watching TV. So kind of like the Wolf Pack. Or something.
Oh yeah, there's those dudes that they were like in a house or something, and they learned about the outside world by watching flicks.
Yeah, by watching like Martin Scorsese movies and Tarantino movies. So they're like, "Hey, yo, hey, what do you want from me?" Oh. So
I'm walking here. I'm walking to the kitchen here.
So like all that, bossa nova, like all that kind of stuff is very like excusable and becomes a little less annoying, a little more charming when it is like, oh, they're just turtles.
The turtles in the new version, they're like smoking a jewel. They're like vaping and like TikToking or whatever.
They are sort of chasing a zeitgeist here. You could say pandering, like, you know, playing to the audience, but it's like, it sure worked.
It worked.
It worked like gangbusters. But it makes sense in story terms too, you know? Like if they were really, you know, erudite or something, it would be kind of like, well, that you know, how did these turtles get this smart?
God, I love being an influencer.
Do you get like uncomfortable like with like the fashions and things of like kind of like, oh yeah, this is like what I thought was cool when I was like 12 or 13 or whatever, you know?
I wanted a...
Do you think it's held up well or what?
Yeah, I mean, I still am like, look, there's palettes of... like, I'm still like, ripped jeans. Like, I thought in like Friday the 13th Part 6, when the cops, like, the guy has his jeans ripped and they're like, he's like, doesn't your mother have a sewing machine? Or who we mentioned him in a previous episode, Mallory's boyfriend from
Nick.
Nick from was that Family Ties? And like one earring, like I might on one episode of the show get the one dangling cross earring.
You know, it's funny bringing up Family Ties because like we did our WandaVision episode only having seen like a few episodes of WandaVision, you know, just whatever were available then, and we were talking about it looking kind of like Bridget and Bernie, which was like Meredith Baxter Bernie's show before
I never saw
Family Ties, and then you know just recent like an episode that came after that was a full-on like Family Ties, like they did the introduction where it's like the family portrait and the guy's drawing the family portrait and then you start putting in the colors. So like we knew it was going to go in like a Family Ties direction. We could see it happening,
dude. And I still think the fashion holds up. Like I actually like even appreciated Casey Jones's wardrobe even more. I picked up some sweatpants and like
it's kind of like I'm seeing like. Even though this is a movie for kids, it's still like made by grown-ups at this time. So I'm seeing like the adult gaze of these characters where it's like they're kind of you know looking down on these like sort of kid characters and you know like kind of like what's this crazy stuff these kids are up to? These kids are rotten to the core, you know, kind of thing, you know, and it's just, you know, I don't know, maybe that's what I'm responding to is you know, I feel like it would be very different today. Like, I think, like, adults' view of children is, like, a lot more charitable and enlightened now than it was back then.
Yeah, you know? They're like, look at this cadre of juvenile delinquents.
Right, yeah, it's, like, very, very hostile, where now I feel like, you know, the kids would be portrayed in a much more sympathetic light.
Yeah, and also, when Shredder... puts during the ceremony the mask. I always cringed. I think when he puts a mask on that dude, he's gonna like accidentally stab him with this like claw.
Shredder is like it's a great design. Like I always love just the design of Shredder.
Me too.
Foot Clan, like they look good too. Like and in the comics they are ninja. They are like human beings in you know costumes. And then in the show, they're robots.
Yes.
So that the Ninja Turtles can like cut their heads off and stuff. You know, and keep it G-rated. But in this, they're human beings again, and it is kind of like these kids with like their parachute pants and whatever. Like they can kind of graduate to getting like their full like ninja regalia.
Like I'm glad that Zubaz is still. Are still being made, so I'm picking up a pair of those as well.
I guess now that you mention it, it is like these fashions probably have aged pretty well. Like these things have come back. The funny thing is though, like when you look at like old fashions, and then when fashions come back, like when the 70s came back in the 90s, and when the 80s came back in the 2000s, and so on and so on. Like there's like curation going on because they're picking like the best of the best, but then there are some like awful looks that are like of that era that don't come
make it.
And so you see some of that sprinkled through here. Like you see like the bandana that like you'll see on like Cobra Kai or something. But then there's like other stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I remember when people wore that.
Wore that.
And then the main kid, the kid who kind of goes, he's got like a Johnny Rotten or Sid Vicious. Yeah, he's got a Sid Vicious and Sid and Nancy T-shirt and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember, Sid and Nancy being kind of idolized.
He's like, ninja kick the damn rabbit.
They're kind of angling for this thing being like having like a little more of an edge. And I'm guessing it was like PG-13, right? Like it couldn't have been R.
No, definitely wasn't R. I do remember whenever Raph screams "damn."
Yeah.
I remember like being like looking over at my mom and like, is that okay? Is like, we're watching this? Is everything all right?
Other than that, like this movie does seem like something that you could like just like show to your nieces and nephews or whatever, but except for like because he like very crisply and clearly says damn a number of times like early in the movie and spread out. It's like that's like their thing of like, okay, how are we going to get this from a PG to a PG-13? Okay, we'll have it say okay, if he says damn four times, we'll get in there.
I am so glad that my parents let me watch these movies, like, because like my mom was like, you gotta watch Die Hard, and I'm like a little kid, but she would like screen it first and then like tell me to turn away when like Takagi got his head blown off or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was like 6 or 7 when my dad's watching Scarface,
Yes.
with me in the room,
Yeah.
So it's like
it's like
damn,
whatever.
it's just forget about it. All bets are off.
That they might scrub that from like a 2021 movie. I'm like, let Raph in there swear up.
Have you seen like the more recent like the Turtle reboot? Have you seen that movie at all? I've
only seen the 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
I haven't seen the reboot or any additional ones.
Yeah, because there was like a Ninja Turtles like live action series that like Saban from the Power Rangers produced.
I haven't seen that.
That ran, kind of like
Sounds
concurrently with the Power Rangers and stuff. And I mean, the suits and stuff, look the same. I don't know what the stories were like. I'm assuming the stories were dumber, but the suits. That's another thing. Like, okay, we're watching like a pre-digital comic book adaptation superhero movie, and back in this era, like even the Batman movies and stuff, there wasn't as much like superhero-y stuff as there is now, where you have like the CGI and you can pepper it with like all kinds of like Spider-Man swinging around. Back then, it's like you had to be very. It's like, okay, here's our budget. We have to do this stuff live, so it's like, okay, we can have 1 or 2 kind of cool sequences, and that's it.
You gotta pick.
Yeah, where in this, you have these mechanical suits that are really good.
They are so good. They hold up so well. It's Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and it's one of the few times that they, like when Jim Henson Creature Shop, I think, I know I'm huffing gas usually, but usually when like Jim Henson's Creature Shop makes something, they're like, it's their project. This is them like farming it out.
Yeah.
And they did it again for Secret of the Ooze, but the suits are, they took like 7, besides the person inside and then the voice actor, there was like 5 people just operating the face. They were cutting edge technology.
Just think about all the ways this movie could have gone wrong. And like bad movies of this same era that you've seen where they have some kind of like, and this is depending on, like, these guys are turtles through the whole thing. It's not like they're, like changing into like they morph back into like human beings for like they are turtles through the whole thing. They're doing all kinds of emoting, close-ups, and like I keep looking for like, weaknesses, and
Can't
it's like
find them.
Yeah, the facial expressions are subtle and do all kinds of stuff, and it's kind of like the fact that they have sort of like the cartoony dialogue and jokes and stuff, kind of like it meshes well with
absolutely
what the technology does, and then the guys in the suits,
oh my god,
really like
the range of motion
yeah.
on these things, like latex or whatever they're doing. It looks good in all different lighting. When they get wet, it looks good.
Yeah. The lighting is really like amazing in this movie, and like you think this is coming out like a year after Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman, and I imagine Batman had a much larger budget than this.
Yes,
and Batman does not look nearly as good as like Batman himself can't do what these turtles are doing, and just doesn't. And we have a lot of admiration for that movie. Like, we hold that movie in high regard. But this is like kicking its ass all over the place.
It really does. And like,
you just kind of think of this movie and compare it to like maybe like the Garbage Pail Kids movie or something, and see
yeah.
like how this could have gone incredibly wrong.
Jim Henson is the goat. And like the Steve Barron, the director, he has a huge body of music videos.
Okay.
He did the Aha music video.
Oh, okay. So yeah, one of like the founding fathers of the music video genre. Like you would think there'd be like, okay, maybe there's going to be like one really cool kind of like kung fu action scene, and then it's just going to be a lot of just like talking heads and stuff. But no, there are several really good fight scenes throughout where like the turtles, you see them in all their glory. Now, they stretch the budget even further because there are a couple scenes where it's like, they're like, get the lights, and then the lights go out and you just hear, and then the lights come back on and you see a bunch of like ninjas passed out and the turtles are like that. So like, they show you a lot of stuff and then they stretch it even a little further by like leaving things to your imagination. And they do that like a couple times. They do it once where they turn out the lights, and then they do another one where it just starts filling up with steam.
Oh yeah,
and then the steam goes away, and like everybody's knocked out. But yeah, it's like it doesn't skimp. Like I remember going to see the Batman movies, and like just kind of being like, because like you knew you were only going to get a couple of action scenes, and you're just kind of hoping that they're going to be good and be worth it. But with this, it's like there's action all through it.
Like somebody starts a martial art, it's the Michael Keaton method of fighting for Batman. You have to put your head in like the giant like vice. Like, okay, you must never turn your head left or right.
They do have like, fun with it too. There's like, gags, within it. And the tone, it's like you could imagine them pushing the tone in like a little more of like a harder edged direction, or pushing it in like a little more of a humorous direction. And it's like, it's maybe like a little more in the humorous direction than is to my taste. But I think it is, like, I think they went the right way. They didn't go too far. And it's, it's just fun and funny. And there's like, it's serious when it needs to be.
It does. And like, when Raph gets like, beat up pretty badly, and then he's like, has to recover up, feel pretty sad. And then, oh my god, and then at the end when Splinter and Danny, or Casey Jones and Danny are helping Splinter like off the thing, I'm like getting choked up. They're like, he's like, help me, Casey. I was
surprised how well the like Splinter and Danny subplot plays. It does work really well, and like the drama does play out, and you are like, you do see him sort of do his turn, and you're pulling for, and Splinter does have like, he does have like pathos and gravitas, and and like it really does work. And the thing of sort of saving like the last part of his origin story, to sort of tell Danny, that was really effective too. And going back to like the Super 8 stock,
he's like, all fathers love their sons. I was like, oh, you're kidding. Like so many quotes too. He's like, Jose Canseco bat. Or like, and also, Casey Jones being a hockey fan, it's like that's one of like, besides Slapshot, like one of the finest like hockey in
I could see like where exactly what kind of tone to strike with this movie. I can see where like, like sound effects and musical cues are where they kind of would goose it a little, where it would be like, they put it nah, 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 for like some of the sports stuff, and like maybe some good piece,
and it worked on me. Like, he's like, Wayne Gretzky on steroids.
Like, I saw this movie in the theater too, and it like delivered. It like, and like way beyond, like I didn't expect anything great. Like, I liked the Turtles well enough. I loved the comic, but then like going to this movie, it's like, okay, let me check out this movie, and it's like, wow, this, like, it was the talk of school. Like, the weekend, like the Monday after it came out, everybody's like, Ninja Turtles, how great was that? And nobody expected. Everybody did kind of go in expecting it, to be maybe like a little cheesier, or not quite. Like, when I think about the story of like Eastman and Laird, and what a great like success, like a great American success story of the, and a great like triumph of like an artist, and like the little guy, it's amazing. And you see like every step of the way how great thing, like how they just did the right thing, things just went the right way, and this like really shook out the right way. Like, this could have been the end of the whole Turtles thing. Like, if this stunk, but it's like, it was just like, no, it's like, super cool comic, like a total sensation in the comics world, and then hit cartoon, and then smash movie, like great video games, and then smash movie, and it's just like
the box office in this movie is like good even for 2021.
Yeah,
like what a blockbuster, and like it's so funny, not funny, but it's so funny that they had to like. It was tough to finance it. Like it's like the Turtles. Are you kidding me? Like let's greenlight this. Like,
well, probably like when they were getting this movie put together, like getting the deal together and all this kind of stuff, it was probably happening around the same time as like all this other Turtle stuff. Like around the same time they were getting like the TV show going, and around the same time they were getting the toys going. And it's just like so like people are deciding whether or not to put their money behind this stuff. Like before it kind of proved itself as this moneymaker that it is.
I guess because they financed it themselves, it was like the most successful. Like they even considered it like an independent movie before up until like Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, it's like an independent movie, independently financed, and then thinking back to this time, like all you got to do is like check the dates on things like. Superhero movies and comic book movies around this era were not this good. Like this is like a standout of that whole like subgenre. Like they were not this good. This movie has no right being this good.
It's so good. Like the lead up, one of the movies leading up to it, Superman 4.
Goodness.
Was it
Goodness gracious? Yeah.
Quest for Peace.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's probably what people thought this was going to be, and what it should have been. Like, I just watch it and I'm like, and you're not going to get a movie like this anymore either. Like they're not going to do all these like practical effects.
And also the practical effects that they're doing also somehow grounds it and gives it like.
Yeah, it's got all the same lighting and the atmosphere and the mist.
If it was 2021, they're like, all right, Danny, imagine Splinter splattered on that green screen over there.
And like Danny's talking to
the thing
that's
camera.
actually there. Yeah, it's not, he's not talking to like a tennis ball or like, a guy with like a Splinter like hat on.
They're like, we brought in Andy Serkis to play Splinter.
And you also think like, new Star Wars movies and then the new like all the Marvel movies and stuff, like they are just dumping piles and piles and piles of money onto these projects, and this is like it's like we're trying to stretch a budget, and it's all there. It's all there.
It makes you when you have a limited budget, it makes you like consider where it's like, oh, that in like a bigger budget movie, it's like, oh, the CGI is going bad in this division. They're like, well, funnel the money tube over there and pump more cash into it to like throw money at it.
Like when I watch the the making of documentaries for like these newer Star Wars movies, it's obscene when you see like it's like they practically build an entire planet for them to sort of play on, and so, like the money is like you just see them like like helicoptering in all this stuff.
Here comes JJ in a Huey and he does a cash dump like.
The same thing with the comics. Like they do a great job of like picking like taking the first few issues of the comics and kind of like rearranging some stuff and cutting out some stuff and just making like a closed circle, making it kind of play out.
I can't wait to read it. I want to see what they utilize from the comic for the film.
Well, like the first issue of the Ninja Turtles is like it's like a standalone story. Like it could have just been that. It's like very complete because it's like explains their origin. They fight Shredder. They kill Shredder, and then that's it. And then and then they go on some other adventures in subsequent issues, and then like Shredder returns and things like that. And they go on all these adventures, and then they kind of like they end up at that old house. Like they go hide out in that old house.
That's so cool.
And like that first run of like I forget how many issues like you are at that point when they go to this house. Maybe like 10 issues or whatever when they go in that house. It's like this amazing ride, and then it kind of like catches its breath a little, and it's like it's a good comic throughout, but it's never quite as good as that like when they go to the house. And it is kind of like whenever I like reread the Ninja Turtles, I always get like a little bummed when we get to that part at the house, you know, because like, and again, so many crazy things happen in the comic before you get to that old house that they hang out at, that the narrative did need a moment to kind of catch its breath and kind of slow down. But it is like, it never quite picks up again, like once it goes there. And so I always get a little, wistful or whatever when they get to that part. And it's like, yeah, I know it's like, I've been loving this ride and it's not gonna be as good. Where in this, they do a good job because they kind of hold off the final battle with Shredder like until the end. Yes. And then they get to the house. And then that's like, this thing with the house, like this is exactly where this sort of thing happens in a movie, you know. It's like you need this kind of...
It's great seeing the turtles in like a rural setting, because like when we're kids, we're fighting and like playing in the woods, like doing our martial arts and like pretending to be turtles. I'm like, well, they were in the woods in the movie, like fighting. It's like
They talk about like emulatable violence, as you know, kind of like this bad bit. Like you don't want to do anything too crazy on a kids show that like a kid could go out and do. But then there's also like kind of like emulatable kind of like fun stuff where it's when you're playing you could like spin around on the ground and pretend you're
that. And then got Elias Koteas, the great character actor, as Casey Jones.
Yeah, Casey Jones is really good in this, and it's like they weren't going to be able to have like a romance between April O'Neil and one of the turtles. Like that's just too much. Like we're not going to take. So it's like you need a human who's kind of like a bridge. He's like kind of like the turtles, but then also like a human, so you can kind of
bridge the gap.
Yeah, bridge the gap. And then like Moonlighting is like the big TV show at this time, and then like one of the turtles even references.
I know!
It's just like Moonlighting.
My mom watched Moonlighting a lot, so like as a kid, I'm like, I get it. It's like David Addison or
David and Maddie. David, he's a wise ass. She can't stand him. I mean, just look at the way these guys, the faces move and stuff. Like,
and then they each have their personality. I know the dude that played, I can't remember his name, but he that played Raph. Was also the voice.
Corey Feldman, or
Corey Feldman did because Donatello blowing rails.
That was Sam Kinison did that same like routine.
Did he
on the Howard Stern show at this era of like
what is it? Parallel fate or Great Minds Think Alike. Rip Sam. Ow!
He did the same material, joking about Corey Feldman in here. I don't know the behind-the-scenes ins and outs, but I'm guessing, like, Corey Feldman is not in that suit.
No.
Because it looks like they have sort of, like, trained gymnasts and trained martial artists in the suits. Almost like the same actors who would be in, like, the Power Rangers outfits. So like guys who really know how to move. And then, like Corey Feldman is providing his voice, but you said like at least a couple of the actors are actually in the suit, or maybe like during the fight scenes they kind of switch to a different actor.
Yeah, like
look, a box of Archie comics, and Archie published the like kids version of the Ninja Turtles comics.
Okay,
you had the sort of like self-published Mirage Studios hardcore Ninja Turtles comic, and then Archie put out the one that's like more like the cartoon.
And that's another thing too. Like as a little kid, not having read the comic, I still knew Eastman and Laird. I knew Golden Harvest. I knew Mirage. I'm like, where am I? Like, where's this guy? Like, they did a great like.
I mean, as someone who's like immersed in the world of comics, like there's different things that sort of serve as like gateways for kids into comics, and it would be like G.I. Joe, the cartoon, was like this perfect gateway for a lot of people to get into comic books because they would advertise the G.I. Joe comic book on TV. You got the toys, you got the cartoon, and then it's like, let me read this G.I. Joe comic, and then all of a sudden you're a comic book fan.
Yeah.
And Ninja Turtles was like another, like, and it's kind of perfect. Great casting on April O'Neil too. That's like a tough role to fill, and
she does a great job. Yeah. Judith Hoag.
I like how they reference her sort of cartoon look because it's like that yellow jumpsuit that she wears in the cartoon.
Yeah, she has the slicker at the beginning.
Yeah, they put in like a yellow rain slicker just to kind of be like, okay, this is April. She's got her signature yellow. And it makes sense. It's raining out, so she's
little fan service.
Yeah, little fan service. Yeah, on the astral plane contact
Splinter. I felt so bad. I'm like, These guys are the worst of the worst to chain up a poor rat and like abuse him.
Yeah, having like protagonists who are animals, like you've got the audience on your side. Like
these are the worst of the worst.
Yeah, the bad guys are so bad, you know. And Splinter, like, he just really seems pathetic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like he's
poor
all like
guy.
bloody. I mean, his ear's missing from like earlier.
I know.
I love. I mean, the whole like grudge between Splinter and Shredder, because it's like he's this little rat, and he like scratched his face like wearing this mask the rest of his life to like cover up this scratch that this little rat gave him, and now the rat is like this fully grown like mutant rat.
He's like, you've got to be shitting me.
And then now they're gonna have their, you know, years in the making final clash.
Battle.
Now in the comic first issue, they set up the whole, you know, Shredder killed my master, I'm your master, now you're gonna kill the guy who killed my master. And so, like, you know, Splinter sends the Turtles out to like to kill Shredder, and it's a fight to the death. And the Turtles, like, Shredder ends up like they're fighting, and then and he's really tough, but then the Turtles kind of, a war of attrition, they kind of like take him down like one hit at a time. And so now he sees that he's lost, and so then he like arms this like thermite grenade or whatever, and then like they, you know, like they throw a sigh in his face, and it knocks him down, and then he has and so he falls off and then explodes. So like
that's awesome.
The Turtles defeat him. Like, they did come there to kill him, but they don't kill him. Like, he sort of dies by his own hand.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of nice. It kind of keeps your heroes kind of clean.
Same in the movie too. Like when Splinter has him like dangling off the building, Splinter's not like, suck it, and then lets him go.
Yeah.
He has to like pull a knife. He has to attack Splinter to justify him. Like
in the movie, Shredder falls into this like trash compactor, and then Casey Jones is like, whoops, and
I
he,
love
like, flips it and crushes him. But they do kind of like, you don't see him in there getting crushed. You see his helmet getting crushed.
Oh yeah.
So it gives you
a movie magic for the sequel.
I kind of forgot that Splinter is the one who kind of defeats Shredder, because the Turtles fight him and they're kind of on the ropes.
Yeah.
And then Splinter shows up, and then like he, you know, defeats Shredder, and kind of like he steals a little of the Turtles' thunder. You know, like
yeah, he's like
you want to see the Turtles kick his ass, but Splinter
it's like in fantasy football. It's like your running back does 100 yards, and then they give it off to their goal line vulture, punch it in for 6.
It does, like
we got down to the end zone.
Like as a kid, it was like there was a learning curve for the Ninja Turtles, because like you watch it and you're like, okay, what was that thing I just watched? And what are they called? They're called you knew there were a bunch of names. It was like the Ninja Mutant Teenage Turtles. What is, like, you couldn't quite remember.
They had like the after Turtles. There's always like Street Sharks or like Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
What was it? They're like biker mice from
Mars.
Mice
from Mars. I forgot about those guys.
So it was like watching this. I was kind of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about Splinter getting to kind of deliver the coup de grace, but then like it does pay off this, you know, like it gives like in sort of, I don't know, plot terms or script terms or whatever, it gives like a reason for all this like stuff about you know, Splinter's backstory and like sort of a purpose, like a purpose, like after they rescue him, like this is how, you know, he kind of plays his part in the final battle.
They're like so connected through the whole movie. I like too when he's like, I don't know what happened to him, but you wear his symbol on your band.
The symbol, like the symbol is kind of like this, you know, just this like sort of like made up symbol or whatever. It's not like the footprint. Like in the cartoon and in the comics. Like I wonder what the
they should have had that. Would have been cool to see like the foot symbol on there.
Like I guess, I don't know, maybe they thought it was too silly or something. Like I really like the foot symbol.
I do too.
And it's a reference, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like a big love letter to Frank Miller's Daredevil comics.
Oh, what is the name of the thing?
In the Daredevil comics, the sort of ninja group that Daredevil fights are called the hand.
Oh,
so it's just like there's the hand and here's the foot. You know, like and I didn't know any of that stuff when I was a kid. It was just like the foot. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
yeah. That's awesome.
It's probably a real thing from history. You know,
I'm like doing a report in like the history of the Foot Clan.
They don't like screw over like the kids who like love the cartoon coming to see this movie. It's like they're gonna love pizza. They're gonna say cowabunga dude. They're gonna say shell shock. But you're gonna also maybe like learn some things you didn't know about the turtles at the same time.
Yeah, like they're like penicillin on your pizza. I'm like, what's that? Or when Sam Rockwell's like menthol. I'm like, what's menthol cigarettes?
And Casey Jones' look like that was what like the hair and stuff. That's like what like somebody who was cool looked like in like 1990. He looks like Trent Reznor or somebody.
They were gonna. I think one of the guys up for the role, I think, was like Keanu Reeves.
Okay, yeah, that would have been cool. I mean,
he already got the hit. Elias Koteas, like, I'm all in on Casey Jones, and I actually ordered a Casey Jones mask after watching it, so I might wear one on next episode. I'm like, you pukes.
Casey Jones' introduction in this is kind of like one of those great classic, like comic book superhero fights where it's like two superheroes meet each other and they don't like each other's style or it's mistaken identity or whatever, and they fight for a little and then they join forces.
I know, it's so great whenever he teams up. They're like they have a friend for life in Casey.
I loved this movie, but I never saw Turtles 2. It's like when Turtles 2 came out, like this doesn't look like, just kind of seeing like Vanilla Ice in the commercial.
I tell you what, like when I saw that in the theater too when I was little, and I was somehow even more. I was like, they could do. There's like it's even it's the sequel to Turtles. I can't believe it.
So you were like even more immersed after the second one.
I was still on board with it.
Like, what did they do? And I never saw the third. The third one looks interesting. Going to Japan and seeing them in this sort of like samurai armor, which is like part of the iconography of the comics. You know,
that's so cool too. Like Turtles 2, like I haven't watched it in years.
Does Krang show up in it?
I don't think so. No.
Because like Turtles, the comic, it does kind of the ninja stuff, and then it turns into like space opera for a little, and in like sort of a beautiful, like they kind of ramp up the sci-fi elements, because then the Mousers show up. Like, was Baxter Stockman in part 2 or the Mousers?
No.
Because to me that would have been a perfect, you know, like in the sequel you have the Mousers show up, and Baxter Stockman.
The second one.
And because like in the comics it's like they fight the Mousers and Baxter Stockman, and then they go to this like lab where it's like Krang, he's not called Krang, and there's like a whole there's a whole planet full of them. These like little like octopus people who go in like the robot chest and stuff, and then they get teleported to this like planet of they're called the Triceratons. They're these like Triceratops kind of guys and stuff. So it like turns into kind of like Star Wars for a little bit, but with animals. So like none of that happens in part 2.
My big remembrance is Ernie Reyes Jr. Ernie Reyes Jr. is like a pizza delivery guy. He's like a great martial artist, and there's these two characters. I can't remember their name. One's a snapping turtle and like a wolf.
Okay.
And then they get they become like the main henchman for Shredder.
Well, there was like an evil turtle. I mean, there were a couple different evil turtles in like the comics, in the video games too. Like, because part of this whole diet of Ninja Turtles product was the video games. So you have like the NES games, the Super NES games, the arcade games and stuff.
My buddy Brian had Turtles in Time. Mm-hmm. That was
for the SNES.
For the SNES, and we would play. What a great side!
I just played it like a month ago too. Like brilliant, yeah, great. And that's where like there's a bunch of evil turtles that there's like a sort of like a dinosaur turtle, like a prehistoric kind of turtle, and there's
There's so many more turtle films, and I think there's like different series. There's like Nickelodeon series. They did the Lego release from Nickelodeon, which was pretty cool.
Casey Jones, when he goes like undercover in like Shredder's arcade, Dave and Buster's hideout, another cool kind of like he's in the ninja outfit. It would have been like they do have the part where like the Ninja Turtle will wear like that trench coat, where he's like Columbo or something, which is like kind of based on the Thing in Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's Fantastic Four. That's like when the Thing would go just for one of his walks. He'd like throw on this overcoat and hat to hide out, and so the turtles do that, and they do that in the movie. But it would have been kind of funny to see one of the turtles go undercover in like the Foot Clan ninja outfit and have it be like all stretched out.
He's like his head's ripping out of the mask. Danny, amateur hour, bringing that drawing into the.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Like, okay, this is based on a comic, but because of like Eastman and Laird being kind of like front and center, it does kind of touch like very directly on the fact of like, okay, it's like artists who made this thing, so then they do incorporate kind of like art and like these drawings that April O'Neil makes of all the turtles.
Oh, when I saw those drawings, I'm like, April, maybe pivot out of being a reporter. I was like, these are dope.
Yeah, I mean, she started out as like an illustrator journalist. She would like do also, like political cartoons.
Her boss, like it seemed like every day her boss was stopping at her apartment, like on the way. I'm like,
yeah, were they carpooling?
I was gonna say I'm like, dude, I'll see you in like 45 minutes at the office. Like,
there's like one of the ninja kind of like sliding into the into the sewer, but not through the manhole opening, but through like in Watchmen.
I would think about like that's another thing I wanted to do after watching this, slide into the sewer.
Yeah, this is the one where the steam comes in and then you're
and
then they're all knocked out.
Obscure the scene.
Okay, you've just created another fight scene for $0.
I know. Yeah,
movie magic.
Dave and Buster's, they're like. They built their whole empire off of the Foot Clan's hideout. I like his reaction. Great reaction. He's just like, we got a big rat here.
He's kind of surprised he does a double take, but in reverse. He's kind of like shocked, and then he's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm in on this.
You see like a stray cat or whatever that's kind of a little dinged up like that. So I was like, oh.
His ears cut.
But that's an old wound. Like he's had that the whole,
from
his early days.
Yeah. Look at that in the
suit. Great
Jeez.
kung fu in the suit. Yeah, like doing these flips and kicks, like all stuff that like you just couldn't do in like the Michael Keaton Batman suit.
He's like, wait, what? There's someone behind me. Hold on 1 second.
And this is like 4. You got 4 suits.
Said that the guys playing them lost like 5 pounds like every day, like
sweating. Yeah, those things can't breathe. There's Parker Brothers boxes, so there is a lot of product placement.
I got the Casey Jones mask on the way. I'm just planning on picking up some gray sweats. I already got the
jean vest.
I need to get the jean vest, but I have yellowed V-neck soiled white t-shirts.
The other thing of like kind of like making it kind of credible and something that you could play is Casey Jones using like a hockey stick.
Yeah.
And, you could like Casey Jones. It was like a pretty easy Halloween costume.
I think I will just I'll be dressing up as Casey Jones.
I don't know if I know I did the Casey Jones thing. I don't know that I ever went out for Halloween as Casey Jones, but I do remember being at a birthday party with like a face painter and everybody was getting Ninja Turtles, and so I was gonna sort of go deep, and I got the Casey Jones face paint. So like I got like a Casey Jones face paint.
That's so awesome. I tell you what, my mom, she I found that she was working one year on the Turtles Halloween costume, and I remember she got this pattern and tried to make this costume, and it looks like she bit off a little more than she could chew.
Yeah, it looks tough.
So she got like the shell kind of completed, but it didn't. I think it didn't finish in time for Halloween, but she gave it like.
But so you had like a Ninja Turtle suit though that you could like play in.
I had the shell.
The shell, because the shell is like all you need. Like once you have the shell, you're set. So like you could just like a bulky camping backpack or something. Like
that was your
like
shell.
Tan, could be your shell.
This was supposed to be like a full green thing, but like she got the shell worked out. 1 year or two, she made me a Zoobilee. I was like Van Gogh from Zoobilee Zoo.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like you might have been too old for that.
Like before kindergarten.
Okay, that's cool. I'm thinking
that was last year.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe you're like 12 or 13 dressing up for Zoobilee Zoo.
I did that actually for a Zoom Halloween party for Coke.
Yeah, the Ninja Turtles would be talking about. Zoom meeting in like a new Ninja Turtles. Yeah, the toys were like, I mean, again, like one home run after another, and then the toys were great toys.
Great toys. Playmates knocked it out of the park.
And also kind of like Kenner with Star Wars, where it's like Playmates weren't some big market force. You know, they were just kind of the guys who like made the deal.
They Turtles is their like a pillar. Like
just like Kenner, like Star Wars was for Kenner. It's like
we were talking before about Star Wars and Kenner. That's so amazing that like it's just funny that when you get like a property like it's like 5 minutes before nobody wanted anything to do with it, and then it's like your
you're the belle of the ball.
Belle of the ball.
You know, we talk about like the I love being a turtle part, and it's like cheesy. It's what's in the trailer and stuff, but it's like it is a pretty cool, like it works as a gag too, because the guy like swings a sword at him, and then his head pops like in, and then pops out, and he's like, I love being a turtle. Like that works. That's clever. Like they're like, you know, they're probably sitting down like, okay, how many different, you know, turtle related things can we do? And when they're tumbling as two in like a whole, like grabbing arms and like tumbling and stuff.
One of the greatest, I think it's one of the greatest toys of all time. It's in the Turtles line, and it's a little bit, it's like the midpoint of the Turtles line.
Okay.
They're the mutations.
Yes.
So it combines Transformers and Ninja Turtles, and it has some of the most satisfying transforms. Like even more satisfying than the Transformer. There was the Turtles. Is the Boar Bebop?
I forget which one's Bebop and which one's Rocksteady. It's just like, there's Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I ever knew which one was which.
I had the Boar, maybe Bebop, and he transformed from like man to his like boar self. Yeah. What an incredible transformation! And then like I had Splinter from man to rat, and then the vehicles changed too.
You know, as much as I like Splinter, like always having been a rat, never having been a human. It's good that at least in the cartoon he was, because that sounds like a really cool toy.
It was amazing, and like I still I have them somewhere. I gotta find them, but and they're made really well. So like they're just like what a triumph like of the Playmates toy line.
You know, for the toy part of things, like when they designed like the sort of sewer lair. Toy, they had this concept of having like this sort of like face, this like supernatural kind of like face in the brickwork.
Oh, that's
like this kind of like godlike character. It seemed like really cool and kind of added like a cosmic element to things. And it got scrapped, sort of like Satanic Panic era kind of stuff, where they thought it might be considered, I don't know, blasphemous, or that it's like the face of God in like a sewer brickwork or whatever. I don't know.
We have to do a toxic waste episode, because I'm obsessed with like the 80s. Like toxic waste seemed to make its way into so much
it's almost insidious, because I could almost see it being like this idea that these like polluters would have these like companies that are heavily polluted, and it's like, how do we improve our image? And it's like, okay, we'll make a bunch of cartoons where you get exposed to toxic waste and you get superpowers and you mutate and you turn into a like turtle superhero.
I'm like bathing in like the runoff from like a plant.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and going back to like Marvel, and because like, you'd hear about radiation and it's like, man, this nuclear radiation sounds awesome, because that's how you turn into Spider-Man. That's how you turn into the Hulk. That's how you become one of the X-Men. Yeah. Although your parents have to be exposed to radiation for you to become an X-Men. Like, this is awesome. This is great. And then like you kind of like you're in school and you're learning about radiation. It's like, ooh. I remember somebody in like, I don't know, junior high or whatever, making a reference like during like a class about like, radiation or whatever, making like a reference to like Spider-Man or something, and like the teacher kind of like freaking out and being like, look, I was exposed to this stuff. They didn't know back then, and I've been exposed to this stuff. God knows what, kind of like thing I'm going to be. So I don't want to hear any of that shit.
For the toxic waste, you got Turtles and the Mutagen. Then another toy line that I'm obsessed with is by Playmates as well, the Toxic Crusader toy line.
Toxic Crusader. Okay, so that was Toxic Avenger But they changed the name to Toxic Crusader, I guess. Like probably
there's a
Marvel
cartoon.
was going to be all over them about the Avengers or something.
And then you got like Swamp Thing with like Arcane and his toxic waste, and then Friday the 13th Part 8. Apparently at midnight every night in New York City they flush the sewers of toxic waste. Like so much toxic waste.
Now, all these storylines would make you love toxic waste, so you could see how there might be something like insidious going on. That's part of the like the tribute that they're paying to Daredevil, because within the Ninja Turtles comic, you see Daredevil's origin, because like Daredevil. They have it because there's a blind man crossing the street, doesn't see this truck full of toxic waste coming his way. Young Matt Murdock knocks the guy out of the way so he doesn't get hit by the truck. A like cylinder of nuclear material comes bouncing out, and it hits Matt Murdock in the eyes, makes him blind, but then also gives him his Daredevil superpowers. So they show all that in the Ninja Turtles #1 comic, and then it like bounces off of his head, and then breaks a kid's plastic jar of turtles. They fall into the sewer. The nuclear material cylinder falls into the sewer too, and then Splinter gets exposed and something. So it like the Ninja Turtles are directly tied to the Marvel universe, to the Daredevil origin. In an unofficial, and kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge way, but still like textually, it's like it's right there.
Danny's reuniting with Dad.
Yeah, I could see, that they maybe they wrote Danny's role for Danny Cooksey from Salute Your Shorts. He's kind of got that look.
He does. Blow that mullet out a little bit.
And like, if this movie were made a couple years prior, they could have gotten Corey Feldman to play Danny.
So Raph is in the movie too. He's the guy in the cab he's the guy in the back of the cab that Raph, like when he rolls over the cab, the guy that plays Raph's in the cab. And then the pizza delivery guy that slides the pizza down a storm. That's one of my bucket list items too. Is I've always wanted to shove a pizza box down like a storm grate. I still have to do that. Then I tried to do that a couple weeks ago and was arrested for polluting the environment.
Not too long ago, Domino's tried to like rehab their image or whatever and say like, okay, we know our pizza sucked.
So obsessed with
now
that.
we're gonna make good pizza now.
I think I think about that and talk about that like. Every few days. I mentioned like
they need to be part of a Ninja Turtles reboot or whatever to kind of get their thing going again.
It's so amazing that they're like, we suck.
Yeah, that is an interesting move. It's bold. It's a bold move. Probably ill-advised. I mean, we're still talking about it, so it is.
They're like, we stink. We know it.
But now we're good.
And
all you assholes who bought our pizza and liked it before, we think you guys are idiots. Like at this time, like I remember Domino's, and maybe it's the result of this, and like they did other kind of advertising and stuff, but like I remember Domino's for a while being like the pizza of choice, where it's like we're ordering pizza, like especially when we started getting to the age, like in high school or whatever, where it's like, okay, now you can, like it's not mom and dad ordering the pizza, it's you ordering the pizza and like paying for it yourself, and it's like Domino's was kind of the go-to.
In high school, for some reason, our school had like a deal with Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And that route, I was like over pizza because like it is first of all it associated eating their pizza with like
being at school.
Being at school was like, and then I don't know.
Well, they'd have that like book it or whatever, where you'd like read a certain number of books, and then you could like cash it in for like free pizza. Pizza Hut, before Super Mario 3 came out for the NES, they had an arcade version. It was like identical, but it was like maybe it was like the Nintendo Play 5 or whatever. But it was like you could play Super Mario 3 in the arcade, before it came out for the NES, and the Pizza Hut had that. So I was at Pizza Hut.
Oh, I love Pizza Hut. Like I would go there for their personal pan pizzas. Like I was on board for Pizza Hut. Like I like dining in at Pizza Hut. It tasted so good. Like,
I remember us going there like as a family to Pizza Hut for the Priazzo Italian pie, where it was like a pizza. It was like a Pizza Hut pizza that was hollow, and they would just stuff it with like mushrooms and peppers and sauce and stuff. It was good. Like it no longer exists. It just existed for like a short period of time. But that was like enough to get like the Scioli family into a pizza, and it's like you know, Italian family, very particular about like what Italian food they eat and where they get it from, and like homemade versus like and going to pizza. But like it got us into a Pizza Hut.
Oh, that's like Pizza Hut, and then Pizza Hut, big fan too of the now discontinued Bigfoot Pizza. It also one of the first companies that I can even think about that actually was on board with branding with Bigfoot, like acknowledging Bigfoot.
Yes, acknowledging the reality of
Bigfoot.
The truth of Bigfoot. Like I was on the chess team in high school, and you know, like one of the guys on the chess team had like a friend who owned a Domino's franchise in like one of these towns that we went to for like a tournament or whatever. So they sent us over free Domino's pizza, and like I'm excited. This is great, but like this is like because like for these chess tournaments, you'd have like the high school kids would play, but then there'd also be like former students who like to us they seemed like they were 100 years old. They were probably like 20 or whatever, but they would like sort of come back for these tournaments because there'd be different like age divisions and stuff. So this was one of the guys, and so he came in, and so like he hooked everybody up with all this like free Domino's pizza, and like we were excited about it, and then he's sitting there chewing on it. He's like, "It tastes like a carpet with sauce on it." Like just throws it down. He's all like angry at the pizza. Dude, he's got like the sophisticated palate of like a 20-year-old, and then we're like 16, 17, whatever, and like
this tastes like carpet with sauce on it. They do another rebranding thing where they're like, you remember when we said we were good? We were actually bad.
Yeah, we lied then too. We sucked before that. We sucked then.
Now we're good, but if you button after, you're a rube.
We probably suck now too, but you'll find out for sure a couple years from now. We live in Pittsburgh. There is so much good. Like I don't know if Pittsburgh is known for its pizza, but it has amazing pizza, and like we'll tell you the places to go to because there's like these like world-class pizza places to go to in Pittsburgh. But sometimes I'm in the mood for like some trashy pizza, and I want some Little Caesars, Domino's, Pizza Hut. It's like a very particular
it's like you craving. That's one thing.
Yeah,
that's another thing, and like sometimes you want Domino's. And sometimes you want Domino's ordered when you're down inside a filling with water sewer grate.
When he's like sliding that pizza down vertically, I'm like worried about the pizza falling out. Like this is an adaptation of a comic book that is like it's incredibly fresh. Like the comic had only been around a couple years. It's not like you got the Superman movie and then the Christopher Reeve Superman comes out 30 years later or whatever. This is like hot off the presses. It's like straight from comic to TV to theaters, and it's like perfect. It's seamless.
It's unreal. It's like once you barely catch your breath on one medium before it's like, okay, I think we got the cartoon figured out. Oh, we got a movie in the works.
It's probably like part of it's probably like the difference, like because it's just two guys who just made this thing, it doesn't have like the baggage, because you'd hear all this stuff about, okay, the reason why it took forever to get some Marvel movies going is because Chip Goodman sold the rights for 2 cents back in 1969 or whatever, and got these bad perpetual deals that took decades to unravel, and that's why it took forever. Like otherwise we might have gotten some cool Marvel movies a lot sooner. So maybe it just didn't have the baggage, and it didn't have Warner Brothers or whatever holding the strings or whatever. But it is kind of astounding, hot off the presses, perfect adaptation. It's not like you got Batman you got the Batman comic comes out, and then they have the Batman trailer, like or the Batman serial movies, in the 40s that are just like garbage or whatever. It's not, and then 20 years later you get the 60s TV show, and it's like boom, comic, TV show, movie, and it's so faithful. Like toy line, and it straddles the two worlds like so perfect. Like it really does have like one foot in the gritty and 1 foot in the kind of like fun cartoon.
It's spot on tone, and The Ninja Turtles cereal, don't sleep on it. The classic. I wish I could get some of that and some Batman Returns.
Yeah, those marshmallows, because it's got like the Lucky Charm marshmallows,
yes.
where it's like a turtle head, like green, with then like the red bandana.
Yeah, and they had like checks or something with it.
Yeah, find that on eBay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure the marshmallow, the cereal itself might not be so good, but I'll bet those marshmallows are as good as the day they were made.
Talk about eating toxic waste.
Yeah, those freeze-dried marshmallows.
Turtles, iconic. Big part of my childhood. So glad we got to. They haven't left my.
Yeah,
they're with me still.
I've, read the comics, every so often. Like they've been part of my diet, ever since then. Like I consider those comic classics. It's been a while since I saw this movie. Really glad I watched it again. I also have kind of like a personal relationship with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because like very early in my comics career, I won the Zurich grant, which was a grant set up by Peter Laird to help like young, beginning, up and coming comics creators to do what they did, to sort of self-publish your own comic, get it out there, and so I got that grant. So like my comics career, like I'm eternally grateful to Peter Laird and the Ninja Turtles.
That's awesome.
For helping me get started.
Friend of the Total Recall show.
Yeah. Maybe maybe we'll have Peter on and Kevin Eastman too.
And Kevin Eastman, you got the invite as well.
Yeah. We'll have a reunion. Yeah, have Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman's dad. Yeah, the Ninja Turtles, huge success story. Like the guys who created it, they didn't get ripped off like the guys who created Superman, Siegel and Schuster.
Gosh.
They didn't get ripped off like Jack Kirby, creating, just like the Marvel Universe, with Stan Lee. Like
it's so satisfying to see them like
didn't get hosed.
You didn't get hosed.
Became very, very, wealthy young men
while still holding on to the rights to their.
Yeah, and staying creative and keeping it going. They kept their little like Mirage Studios going for decades.
That's awesome.
At some point in the 2000s, they like sold Lock, Stock, and Barrel to Nickelodeon, and like or actually Kevin Eastman sold his half of Ninja Turtles to Peter Laird. So Peter Laird owned like the whole thing, and then a couple years later, Peter Laird sold like the whole thing to Nickelodeon at a substantial increase. So like Kevin Eastman was kind of like, oh,
give me a break.
Hey, but he's old friend. He's doing fine. But it was kind of like it was like the George Lucas selling Star Wars.
Another thing we see time and time again, and through these episodes of the Total Recall show is you got a property, do not sell that off.
Yeah, I mean it just became a headache. Like think about it. These guys got into this like they want to make comics, they want to have some fun, and then it becomes this like empire. This like massive empire that you're managing, and then like everybody you've ever known, anybody you were ever friends with, is now like involved in a lawsuit with you. It's like it was probably such a bummer. It's like just get me out of here. Like I just want to
tap it out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there was some of that going on.
Oh my God! I've got the rights to Indiana Jones. Will somebody please take these off my hands?
Yeah, and sometimes all it takes is like a weak moment where it's like you're just and like maybe during one of like the economic downturns or whatever, it's like oh and you're just feeling low, and then the right person sort of comes along and says like, oh, I'll give you $1 billion. These turtles look great. Again, I never saw any of the sequels. Shame on me. I'll check. Like I've heard.
We're doing Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, I want to check them out. So let's maybe we'll like. We did Turtles, the classic. Maybe next we'll like do like the rest.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Do the rest of them, and maybe include like the Michael Bay Turtles too.
Yeah, that one. It's like
because we're shitting on it. I think I saw like 2 minutes of it. I did. So like it could be a classic for all I know.
It's some. I know it has Megan Fox, but like Shia LaBeouf might show up. He's also wearing a Strokes T-shirt. That's the thing that like sticks in my head from Transformers One. It's like. Is like Bumblebee and Hound, and I'm like the Transformers are there, but I'm like distracted by Shia LaBeouf's Strokes T-shirt.
I could picture, 1990, the same team that made this movie, the Jim Henson Creature Shop and whatever, coming up with the costumes, a practical effects Transformers movie where it's like Optimus Prime is like a guy in a suit, you know?
Now you're speaking my language.
Like a Godzilla movie or like, you know, like Power Rangers or something where you got these little buildings and then you got like, you know, Optimus Prime.
It sounds like the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
please, why? If only existed.
Yeah. The Super Mario Brothers Super Show. I was talking about that to somebody who had never seen it, never heard of it, and I was like, oh yeah, it was like a live action Super Mario Brothers show. And what this guy was picturing, he was saying, he's like, until I sort of explained to him, oh no, that's not what the show was. He was picturing like an HR Puffin stuff or something, like a show where like it's Mario and then he's talking to like a little mushroom, and then he's like the game like Lou Albano running through Mushroom Land, meeting and fighting like Bowser is like a guy in a suit. Dude, like how amazing would that be?
We gotta do the Mario Brothers movie.
Mario Brothers movie. I've still never seen it. Again, like the Mario Brothers movie is like makes all the mistakes that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't do because it was too far from the source material. Like if Bowser were a slightly more credible version, of like Bowser from the games, it could have worked. And if they would have set it in this kind of like magical land or whatever, it could have worked. But it's like they went too sci-fi. They made it into too much of a.
We'll do some also deep. We can do like the slam. We can do a Slam Evil episode.
The greatest movie Billy Zane was in, better than Titanic, is The Phantom. Slam Evil.
Bruce Campbell was like a finalist, I think, for that role.
Okay, yeah, I could see him as the Phantom. And again, like another like practical effects, like one of like maybe there's a little bit of CGI in it. I don't know.
Yeah, like it looks practical to me. Yeah,
like they build like a pirate ship and stuff. It's kind of like the Goonies pirate ship.
Yeah,
you know?
And it makes me think twice about using a microscope every time.
Yes. Yeah, don't focus that microscope. So yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cowabunga Dude, great movie, great comic, great movie.
Great toy line.
That's the color scheme of the Wiggles. Because there's a purple, blue, red, and then like orangey, yellowy.
That one episode of the Wiggles, the red guy has two sides, and he like starts stabbing the like.
I love being a human.
I heart toxic waste.
Toxic Avenger, Toxic Crusader. It is kind of that's like the other thing of like the sort of like 80s 90s thing of like taking a sort of like R-rated thing and then making the cartoon version for kids. So you got like the Rambo cartoon and toy line. You got like Swamp Thing is kind of, a little edgy kind of thing.
Love like the Rambo toys, Rambo cartoon, like
Rambo.
Brothers and I we would do Rambo, and
that's another one. You just need
a headband,
yeah,
and
like a wear a garbage bag. Like he's running around in some kind of like potato sack.
Yeah, like we would Rambo's like scars that he like got being tortured in Vietnam. We like would take. We're like we gotta put Rambo on our chest.
And on that note, you've been watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode of Total Recall. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli. Check out my Patreon on patreon.com. Just search Tom Scioli. You can follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tune.
You can follow the show on Twitter at Total Recall Show or on Instagram at Total_Recall_show. Thanks for spending some time with us going down memory lane with the Turtles.
Yeah. Leave a comment.
Smash the like button.
Hey, smash that like button and subscribe.
We need those likes, those subscribes, and those comments. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
We're loving the conversation. Keep the conversation going. Total Recall forever.